Greetings, Primordial God Jason Breyer at your service, and welcome to this video. This will be the first in a series that'll probably go weekly to every 2 weeks called the Breyer Logs, where, I will basically read comments that you guys have left on the videos and respond to them, tell stories, talk about various topics. That could be stuff from anime, new stuff in the VTuber industry, tech, movies, just about anything I could think about talking about. And so, without further ado, let's begin. There wasn't really no. First and foremost, this video is not going to be that long because, well, it's just the first video. I don't really have a lot of comments that I haven't responded to already, so just wanted to put that out there. Now, I have this comment from WMDE that's asked, have I ever done VR chat? And that'd be so cool. Your YouTube model can be imported to VR chat. I can help you set it up. Cheers. Now, I do appreciate the offer. I will have to decline. I'm kind of waiting to do any VTube model importation until I have made a better model that I will be more of my permanent model. Whenever I eventually debut my 2.0, that will probably be right when I will get a model for VR chat. And I have played VR chat before. Like I talked about this a little bit on the last stream I did, but let's see. I played VR chat for the first time I think 2 years ago. I've had it for a long time. I think I've launched it here and there, and I've been like, oh, I'll get onto it, but then I get busy, and I'm like, oh, I realized, oh, I have videos I have to record or something, so I hop off. And I'm super into like VR chat videos. I always loved watching like channels like Lolathon and all that. But yeah, I have played VR chat. I don't tend to because it doesn't really work well with me. I'm um very much a um introverted introvert, I guess would be how I describe it. I have social anxiety. Well, I have anxiety, but social anxiety is a part of it for me. And so like games like VR chat really don't work well if I don't know people in it. And it's more of a I just need to get out of my comfort zone and actually do it. Um but I've also given myself excuses like, hey, I don't have a VR headset, so I can't do VR versions of it, so it's not the full experience. So if I just wait until I get VR, which divines know when that'll be. Um, but yeah, no, I have played VR chat and to some extent, and like I haven't put a lot of time in there. I and it is on my list of things to one of these days pop back in and actually hang out and interact. But it's something I have to really take time to get my mind ready for. But yeah, so that answers that question. I have played VR chat. I must decline on the help. I do appreciate the offer of helping me import it, but I'm gonna wait on any model importation until I either fully design a new model or when my next 2.0 will eventually be made. Because I plan to one of these days make a new model. It's just one of these days when I have time and the skills. But yeah, so that's kind of the comments. I only had one comment for this week, which isn't too bad. I didn't really upload that many videos because I was busy. And I'd been sick, so that's the big kicker. But yeah, so let me tell you a little story. I'll tell you a couple stories. I'll tell you a VR chat story, which will be very quick, and then I'll tell you another story that I thought was super funny. For me anyway. So for the VR chat story, so this is back probably 2 years ago, or so. God, when would it have been? When was the last time I launched this game? Um, let's see. Wonder if this will tell me. Um, on here, because I oh god, it's been like 3 years, and I've played the game for an hour, on PC anyway. But yeah, so about, yeah, 2 3 years ago, it'd be 3 years ago. I launched the game, I got everything set up again because they had changed everything, and I was like, oh okay, I'm gonna basically get in there, get a model. I'm very much if I'm gonna go and interact with people, I want to not present myself the best I could be, but I want to make sure I have the model I want to display who I am at that time and all that stuff, all the good stuff. And I didn't realize that um the lobby area where you go to select models wasn't private. And so I'm in there looking to find a model, kind of messing around with it, and all I hear is the old man, like, pervert from what was it, Herbert, from, is it Family Guy, I think. Yeah, Herbert from Family Guy. All I hear is his voice, and I threw me completely off, and I turned confused, and there's someone with that avatar, and they're like, they were all talking, telling me to unmute my mic and stuff, and honestly, I was not prepared to talk to anyone, and I immediately closed the game. I didn't even disconnect from the world. I just force closed the game. I never launched it again. I was just not prepared in any sense for for another person to be there and interact, because I had been in there for a few minutes now and not a single voice or anything. I hadn't seen anyone, nothing. And all of a sudden there was someone there and someone trying to talk to me while I was in my own little world, and I was not ready. I have to say that's probably one of my most embarrassing yet funny moments I've had while playing games. Oh, okay. Um, let's see, what's the next story? I'll tell you about my little trip I took years ago. So, uh, when I was younger, uh, oh, I don't even remember. I would have been. This would have been. Let's see. Probably 2016, I want to say. Um, I think I don't really know because this was prior to me graduating and all this stuff. But I had joined a local church, right? And being a divine, living in this world as a mortal now because of seals placed on me, I'm living normal life. And I remember, so I was going to this school, and just down the road from the school was a church that I was helping out at, and we had actually decided we were gonna go on a trip to a camp up northern area at the time, and so me, my girlfriend at the time, and if some friends and everything else went up on this camp, and what the whole thing was, it was basically I think it was a week long, and I'll explain why a little bit, why some of the stuff, I don't remember exact time zones in a little bit. Um, But we went up there at the beginning of the week, and the whole routine was you were kind of separated up into groups. Each cabin, you were separated through gender, and each cabin you had different teams based off of your team captain, who was the counselor, and it was a whole church basically retreat kind of thing, and so you would um go up at like they had a whole you'd wake up early in the morning, sing the little song. They would have you go to the lesson for the day. You would go and have some free time. They would do some stuff, and then there was like game, like events and stuff at the towards the evening before you would have for the night before you'd stay in your cabin for the night and be good. And it was a neat idea. It would have been fun. It would be fun and all. So I remember my first day, we got all set in and there was events for the night, and one of the events we had was basically soccer, but instead of a soccer ball, we used these giant earth balls. Let's see if I can find an image. I think they were called earth balls. I don't remember what they were exactly called. Uh um and They were basically giant soccer balls. I don't think they were the color of a soccer ball, but they were the equivalent. Um they weren't light. They weren't um basically I think it was the equivalent basically it was a giant ball. It was like a thicker material that if it hit you, you would notice. Um but we were playing soccer with them, and it took like you would come to a point where you'd have people on either side of the ball trying to push it, and you would see people. It was like a war zone because you'd see people get ran over by them because you'd see one person try to stop the ball and three or four other people the opposite team push it over them. um I wasn't always the brightest primordial, and I remember one of them got hit really high up in the air, and I saw it coming down, and my first thought went, "Oh, I know this move. I know what to do here. I've seen soccer. You headbutt it." I jumped up, hit my head against it, and the thing just like came down on me. And it was great because I ended up getting ran over by one of them. They got pushed over me. I ended up taking during that single game. I took 6 impacts to the head, including one of the impacts being me colliding head on with I think a counselor. Our heads just clashing and me kind of bouncing, spinning, like bouncing back, spinning, and continuing my momentum to continue playing. That resulted in me getting a concussion on day one. And the reason why I'm telling you this because this will lead up to the actual funny part of the story. So my time on that period is very wonky because I don't remember bits and pieces of it because of the fact I had a concussion for like the entire week I was there. Um, but the day goes by, like the game goes by, the game finishes. I end up going to the nurse's cabin because I was like, I can barely think straight. I need to go see what's going on. Well, I ended up going and heading into the uh nurse. Like I said, I headed into the nurse cabin. They did the look. And they're like, "Yeah, you have the concussion. Just lay here, get some rest. Basically, just take it easy." Because it wasn't like a super serious concussion, but it was enough of to be basically like, "Hey, don't do anything strenuous. For like the entire time you're here, basically." but nothing you need immediately hospitalization for. It was good. But so I'm in there. I'm laying in the nurse's cabin. Now there was usually a game, and then there'd be like a special unique event going on at night. Well, I didn't know anything about that because again, I'm in the nurse's cabin. I'm in a bed in the cabin. And all of a sudden all I'm hearing is screams. And then as someone come into another room talking to the cabin going, "Oh man, I love their screams." And I'm sitting there going, "What is going on out there? Why are people screaming?" And so eventually I'm like, I'm really tired of laying in this bed. I'm gonna go out and find my cabin mates and figure out what's going on and go back to the cabin maybe. And because I didn't have my phone, we weren't allowed to have our phones on us. We could have them up in the at the camp, but we had to leave them in our cabin with our stuff throughout the day. So we didn't ever have our phones on us. And so in doing so, I was like, okay, I don't have my phone. I can't get a hold of anyone. So I was like, I'm gonna leave this nurse's cabin, and she was like, okay, yeah, you can go. Just be careful. I was like, okay, and I leave the I leave the cabin, and I step out, and immediately I felt creeped out. So if anyone has seen The Walking Dead, um if you know at the beginning that one sheriff guy, sorry, I haven't seen it in a long time, so I don't know characters' names. Who comes out, wakes up like from his coma or whatever, I think, if I remember it correctly, comes out and there's no one around. He's like, "What's going on?" That's how I felt. There was not a single person in sight. Dead silence. And I'm like, this is very eerie. What is going on? And I started slowly wandering around. I ended up going down the staircase. I think to head towards the cabin. One to head towards the men's cabins, and there was I was starting to creep around because I saw people in basically like yellow hazmat suits with like basically what looked to be paintball guns or airsoft guns, and I'm like, but I couldn't quite figure out what they were because they looked like they were realistic to some extent. But at that point, I was also really out of it. But I'm like, why is there armed people in hazmat suits wandering around? What is going on? And I remember going down the staircase, and one of them jumped out from like behind the stuff they were covered in. And I remember I looked at him, I was like, I don't know what you are, who you are, but you better sit back down and get back down that hidey hole because I don't want to deal with your crap. And the guy, like the person in the suit, they 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 basically they kind of just like retreated back into the little corner and like tucked themselves back in, like uncertain of what to do. I mean, I don't blame them. I basically just was like, they also got attitude from someone who obviously who and they were just trying to do their job. And I slink back to the cabin. I go in there, and like there's still nobody else in sight. No, because there was probably, oh, I don't know, there was a good 100 people there at that camp that were just like kids and stuff, like teenagers and all that stuff. So the fact I was seeing no one was very eerie, and I just could not figure out what was going on. So I get to my cabin, and I ended up sending a message to my youth pastor at the time. And I was like, "Hey, where are you? What's going on?" He didn't have his phone on him. He didn't respond. But like a moment later, it was funny because I think they were realizing I would have left the nurse's cabin because they popped in. Oh hey, they're like, hey Jason, funny to see you here. I'm all looking at them going, what's going on? They're like, come with us. We'll explain on the way. And I'm being careful because I'm still feeling like, uh, you ever get that feeling of a sinus infection where you're like where you have the pressure and the weird like fluid like feeling in your brain as you move around? That's how I felt. So I was trying not to like trip over anything because I was like, if I fall and hit my head on something, I'm gone. I will no longer exist. I will have That'll be the end, and I'll have to restart my reincarnation cycle once again. And I didn't really want that to happen. So we're sitting there. Well, we're not sitting there. We're walking, and they're explaining. Oh yeah, you're supposed to take these items. They were like these little, basically, um, we were supposed to head to the lake and collect these pool balls that were scattered around and bring them there. And at one point, the youth pastor disappears, and I'm like, where did they go? And then we hear an announcement. Oh yeah, aliens have abducted the youth pass the all the counselors and stuff. Uh, Bring the tokens or whatever they wanted to call them to the area to pay and get your counselor and stuff back. And we're like, okay, so bring the pool ball to the the I say pool ball, but they were like, it's not a pool ball like you would find on the pool table. It's like the ball pit. There we go, ball pit balls, the little plastic round ones that are filled with air. You could crush with your one hand. Those things, and basically you had to bring them to the lake. But the people in hazmats were the aliens, and so what happened is if you had the any of the balls, they would tap you, and basically you had to give them to them and hand them over, and you basically lost them, and you'd have to go find some more and go and take them to the lake and all that stuff. But like I was so lost and so out of it throughout that time that I don't even remember most of how that whole event ended. Just the whole like creepiness and eerie feeling I felt getting out of that nurse's cabin and finding no one. Because it was like at the beginning, it was like a good 5-10 minutes where there was no one around. It was just dark. This has all happened at night, so it's pure black outside, except for the very dim lights that were on some of the cabins, and not a soul in sight except for people wandering around hazmat suits in very eerie ways. Um, but yeah, that's pretty much that part of the story. I mean, the rest of the trip wasn't too eventful at the time because I don't remember bits, like a lot of it. It was just kind of me, kind of doing some activities. Other activities I wasn't able to do because it would put too much pressure on me, like physically with my concussion. I had points where I had to jump across stuff, and I wasn't supposed to be doing any of that. But the cabin lady at the time was very insistent, so I had people carry me across. I know. Leave it to the primordial to be defeated by a giant soccer ball. But yeah, that it was a fun trip overall. I remember there was moments where people would come up to me and they're like, "Are you okay?" Because I would be wandering around like just spinning, just like walking in circles in the same spot because I was so out of it I couldn't think or really talk. I was just so foggy. My brain was foggy for like the entire trip. It was so bad. But yeah. So that was my story here. Of my creepy encounter at a camp during an event where I didn't get to hear the announcements or anything of it beginning because I was in a nurse's cabin after a concussion. But yeah, so I think we're gonna wrap up the video here. The video is a little longer than I thought, but it's actually not too bad. I told a couple of stories, um, as well as read one of the comments. And these videos are gonna fluctuate because it all comes down to what kind of story I want to talk about or tell, or what I want to talk about, or how many comments I have. And so I figured this would be an easier way to respond to people's comments without me having to sit there and stop and respond to all of them. I can just collect them, read them all, respond to you guys, and give you guys better answers that I'm not just quickly typing out. You guys will get a full in-depth answer, explanation, and therefore um, to your liking. And you guys can hear my reasoning. Like if you guys ask me a question, I go, no, you're not, or no, and here's why. I'm not giving you guys a paragraph to read. You guys get 30 seconds to a minute of me talking. There you go. Again, I want to do these once a week if I can. Sometimes they might be 2 weeks. It all depends on my schedule and everything else. Especially with the potential move in the next month, month and a half. Things are gonna get a little more chaotic. But definitely let me know if you guys want to see more of these videos. Leave a like. It definitely shows that you guys like these videos and would definitely encourage me to make more. And if you have any comments, questions, or game ideas, or even stories of your own, feel free to leave them in the comments section below. I would love to read them and see all stuff. If you haven't, follow me over on Twitter, Jason Breyer. It's where I post my weekly stream schedule, as well as just random tweets, kind of talking about things here and there. Follow me over on twitch.tv/thejasonbreyer. It's where I stream weekly, 3 to 4 times a week, usually Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. But this week was a little different because of my birthday. And then because like right now we're streaming like this week we were streaming Power World. We're gonna do Dead Space, and then Hard Space Shipbreaker, I think, and then maybe something else. Who knows? But yeah. Anyways, if you guys like I said, if you guys like the video, leave a like. Have any comments, questions, game ideas, please leave in the comment section below. And that'll be it. And I will see you all in the next video. Bye bye.